It's me, Ziggbee. Hello. There we go. Put a little lower there so I can see better. Hello, Sandman. Hello, Tatum Pancakes. Hello to... Is there only 2 people here? Oh my gosh. There's only 2 people watching. Oh, 4 people. My bad. Oh, I need to set the notifications first. That's probably why too. That helps. I will do a tweet. I will do a Discord notification. And be like, where is everybody? I'm gonna publish that so it pings everything. I should put like at everyone in there. I see some streamers that do that, but that's probably a bit much, isn't it? Featuring Red, hello. Taylor, hello. Costume One, hello, Costume One. We have Alex and Shade. I mean, Alex and Shade. Axie and Shade. I can totally think sometimes, not really. Shane, hello, Shane. Sandman. I already said Sandman, but it's a cute emote, so don't mind me if I repeat myself like twice. I do that sometimes. Let's see, is the music playing? People can hear me? Wow! I'm yelling.
Susie just gifted 1 subs.
Thank you, Susie. Actually, it should be Susie Q. Thank you for the gifted community sub. Thank you so much for being a big bean community supporter.
Moose just resubscribed for 17 months. Wow, 17 months. Hard to believe it's been that long.
Oh, it's going to change it from normal emote to regular chat. Didn't realize I was on.
Costumer done cheer Dex 100. Emote only chat on.
Let's see here. Susie Q, thank you again. When was that ago? This minute? Cardboard Moose resubscribed? Let me see here for a second. I see some interesting subscriptions here. I'm gonna read some of them. Like there's a Captain Lucille from, I probably say that way wrong. From 30 minutes ago. Thank you for the subscription if you're here by chance. That was before I started streaming even. Let's see here. What's that? I don't know what that is. Cardboard Moose, thank you for resubscribing tier 1 and being subscribed for 17 months. Let's see, does it read the message though? Wow, 17. When did you do that? That was a minute ago, right? Yeah. Wow, 17 months. Hard to believe it's been that long. Thanks for all the funds. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And we have a Costume One. Thank you for the 100 bits. Emote only chat. I'm sorry. That's gonna, oh my gosh, that makes it seem like I'm like trying to trick people to give me bits. Let's see here. And that, yeah, there we go. I got a boing request already. Costume One, I will give you boings. I will give you boings. Let's how far can I boing? I'm gonna stand on this bridge and boing backwards because I can go farther, I think. Boing. Actually, no, that did not work as well as I was hoping. Let's try that again. Boing. No, that's not even a boing, Ziggbee. Boing. Boing. There we go. Might be forwards better now. Boing. It feels like I gotta like get some momentum. Boing.
Peachring Rat just gifted 1 subs.
Thank you, Peaching Rat, for gifting a community sub and being a big bean community supporter by being generous and giving a gift. I'm repeating myself again. Alex the Yeen? Oh my gosh, it's Alex the Yeen. Where have you been, Alex the Yeen? Doing? I love that. Wait, what do you do? What's going on here? Advanced boings? Yeah, I try to do some good boings. I think it's like a goal, like how far can I get? Can I jump across the screen if I get a running start? Boing! Almost got across the entire screen.
Costumer done just gifted 5 subs.
Zazzy, oh, Costume One, thank you for the 5. Oh my gosh, you don't have to do so many. You don't have to give all these subs, everybody. Jeez. Oh my god.
Zazzy underscore ferret gifted small underscore boy underscore 101 a subscription. Zazzy underscore
so
ferret
sweet,
gifted
Zazzy.
a tier 1 sub to small underscore boy underscore 101. They have given 4 gift subs in the channel.
Oh, I see. I got intel. Captain Lucille is where will, like, should I be telling this information or should this be private? Thank you, Costume One, for the 5 gifted community subs. Thank you for that. What is that? Patreon Rat, thank you for the 15 direct tip. Thank you very much, Patreon Rat. It's very kind of you. Sammy, just so you know, everything in the chat is being said to me. I can hear it today.
Just
I'm actually in the channel correctly for once.
Subs.
Because I'll answer a question to you. Just so you know, Sib's not going to be here today because, again, Sib's hours have gotten really strange, unfortunately. Thank you to also Zazzy Fair for gifting a sub to a small boy. Thank you, Zazzy Fair. It's so kind of you to do. Costume, thank you for being a big community supporter and throwing up 5 gifted subs, which is a lot of subs to give out. And just for Jay, I saw you. Thank you for the gifted community sub. I said that to Just for Jay because Just for Jay says I miss things sometimes. Wait, what? I'm hearing things. He can hear us? Yes, Small, I can. Use it sparingly. It might distract my train of thoughts, but you can use it though, so it's fine. I'm having help, by the way. People are whispering in my ears, so I'm on.
Drinklat cheered X 100. It's payday again. But don't worry, I got myself something too. I got Fall Out Boy concert tickets, but unfortunately it's a Thursday.
Aww. That's awesome though. This payday is always wonderful. Thank you for the 100 cheered bits, and I'm glad you got yourself something. That's very sweet. Yeah, you should always treat yourself if you can. Oh my gosh. No, Alex, be good. Okay, what am I doing here? All right. OMG, you got Fall Out Boy tickets? No, I don't think they said they did though, because it was on a Thursday, right? Good choice though. Been coughing and sneezing down their ears all week. That's not good. I just followed you on YouTube. Thank you. Thank you, werewolf. Another werewolf? Werewolf Vpire Gaming? Vampire? I remember you, I think. Oh, I see. The concert on Thursday, so you missed. Oh, don't worry about that. You should always do things in real life that are. You should take care of those things always first. Stream is just for fun, not to take. No, don't worry about it. It's fine. Maybe I'll try to watch the stream during this concert. No, Patron Ret, that's ludicrous. No, you enjoy the concert. Oh my gosh, do not do that. Unless the concert's boring, but you should not do that. How's those shrimps get in there? What shrimps? The more werewolves, the better. Yes, werewolf Billy, I agree.
Cheered X 500.
Whoa! Grumpy liking you to calm down. Thank you for the 500 bits from Grumpy Lycan. Thank you very much for that. And doing the little corgi emotes too. I guess you don't have the corgi butts because it's not as cool as TikTok, but I'll take the corgi face licks on a Twitch. Thank you for that. brushies. I'll have to find a brushie. I don't know if I have one. If I can't find one, I'll refund you. Boons and blessings. Can we get some boons and blessings for the COVID ribbon void, please? Yes, I will give you boons and blessings. You better take good care of yourself too. Drink lots of fluids, water. There you go. Juice is good too. Lots of chicken soup, huh? I'll give you boons and blessings. All right. There you go. Many boons and blessings to you. There you go, Small. Hope that helps. It'll go away, hopefully. Thankfully, yeah. Oh my gosh, so many emotes being chat. Hello, everybody. Small. Ooh. Alex, oh yes, of course. Anyone is welcome to stay here and chat along the stream. Yeah. I like that the chat is right here. Thankfully, Sib Sib was kind enough at the last moment says, Ziggbee, how do you do your chat stuff? And I'm like, I just copied it directly from the dashboard. And Sib was like, here, use this instead. And Sib gave me a better one. See, look it doesn't say all the cool stuff I see, but it does show your text, and it should be syndicated now, which I enjoy because a lot of you people, that sounds so informal. A lot of you have funny comments a lot of the times too.
A_mysterious_muse just gifted 1 subs.
Thank you, Mysterious Muse, for the gifted community stuff as well, and being a big community supporter. Woo! Has anyone else seen what? Well, I hope this does not make anyone embarrassed. Anyone else see the tech channel we have in Discord? It's kind of secretly hidden. I think you have to opt in for it in the roles section. and Unknown Muse was showing a cool, it looked like a cactus creature. They made it shoot like little spikes out. It looks really cool. Unknown Muse is playing in the Unity, which is a really fun program. Well, it's complicated, but it's for game development and stuff. Fox Noise says, hello, Sky. Hello. I'm just gonna be lurking because I gotta eat dinner. Eat dinner? I'm gonna eat probably dinner after the stream. I don't know what I want to get yet though. Today I had like, probably, if I'm being honest, which is embarrassing, I probably had like 3 bowls of Lucky Charms today. Don't judge me, okay? They weren't huge bowls. Okay, they were decent sized bowls, but they were good. They're magically delicious. I also did eat a what do you call it, a protein shake. So at least I'll get my protein too, and not just sugar. Yes, exactly. I need the sugar. I need the sugar. I need all the sugar. It's not good though. Oh, what we're doing today is I'll show some fan art, we'll play some Pictionary, and maybe whatever else. If anyone's wondering what the world is called, it's called a therapy garden. Let me double check though, just to make sure. Because it is a beautiful place. It's a pretty small area though, but it's very condensed with rich visuals. Yeah, it's garden therapy. That's a lot of sugar. No, I put it into my micro app. It wasn't a lot of calories, so it can't be too much sugar, right? I'll have to double check that though, because it might be too much sugar. Cupcakes for Ziggbee. Oh, that reminds me, Strawberry Delight. I need to get a cupcakes. It's almost a weekend. It's almost a weekend. Woo! It's almost the week we get to have fun. Well, I get to have fun, but hopefully you get to have fun too. I sometimes eat more things on the weekends because I try to be eat not so many things during the week, or at least healthier things. More sugar, Goose. No, I did do my Ring Fit exercise today too. Did a little bit. I cheated though. You want me to tell you how I cheated? There's an exercise game called Ring Fit, and I keep talking about it, right? It's on the Switch and it's old, but it's fun. There's this level that takes like a lot of like what do you call it? What are they called? Crunches? Not crunches. Oh, squats. So they want you to go squat a lot. Like, oh my gosh, my legs are burning. So what I do is, if they do too much, I'll just squat and then sit on the couch. Yeah, I'll just sit on the couch. No, but thankfully though, I do see improvements though, like I think it is actually providing health improvements, which is really cool. You've all done it, Ziggbee. It's okay. You did it too, Sandman. That's a good idea. That I got a message from Alex talking about there's some streamers that do have like a little character like on the side of the screen, and it does text to speech. I was always kind of interested in that, interested in like possibly having something like that, but it'd be kind of technically more work to do. What I really would like, which would be really cool, is have one that talks and responds to your chat and uses artificial intelligence to look at what you're typing and then come up with things to say and reply to you, which I think would be amazing. Oh, thank you too. Oh, sorry. Captain. Oh my gosh. How did I say the last part? I said your name once or twice. I know who you are too. Thank you for the 300 bits. Thank you so much. Woo. A little Ziggbee that says chat hat on me. That would work. We were originally thinking like maybe a bat, because that's like a joke, like maybe a bat character or something in the corner, which would be kind of cool. How do you say that name? Is it Lucilia? Oh my gosh, I can't read. Someone put that in the text to speech. It said it correct in the text to speech. I'm terrible with names. It's always bad. It is always bad. Feels. Oh, Lucille. I'll have to remember Lucille. Thank you, Lucille, for joining me on Twitch as well. I know you came from TikTok, and I was told, someone told me thought I was like a recording, and I wasn't real. It's not real, but he thought it was a recording. Like, I can respond to you and I move and stuff. Hopefully I didn't. And I heard I made you cry too. But it was good emotions, so that's really good. Thank you for joining me on here too. What, Werewolf Billy? I can talk to people. What? I can talk to people. I should show fan art though. You want to see fan art? We have one to show, and it's really cool. They did a really good job. Here, let me show you. Turn it on. Look at this. I love this fan art. It's so cute. Look at that. It's by Fint and Nook. If I got the right Instagram. I've seen them in TikTok, and hopefully they join me on here as well. But isn't that adorable? It looks so, I love it so much. It's really good job. I love the rainbows, and that's one of my favorites. I like this sweater a lot too, because it's like Five Nights at Freddy kind of cute. It's kind of cuteness. It's got cuteness all over it. I put more. Thank you for letting me share this art and making this art too. It's really incredible. It's beautiful. I see a lot of other beans that were commenting about it in the Discord too, which thank you, Beans, for commenting on people's art and welcoming people to the server. You make it a really great place. You make it a great place. Which I just hang out there and like lurk all the time.
Just resubscribed for 7 months. Hi Ziggbee. Hi Beans. Vtuber Ziggbee, best streamer in the world.
Oh my
Yay.
gosh, that's too much. No, I'm the best streamer in the world. Nat Cha Cha Lala, thank you for resubscribing me. Subscribed for 7 months. Thank you so much for resubscribing. Let's go to the art place. Boing! Oh wait, there's like redemptions here. I can't do brushies. Oh, I'm tempted. If I had a microphone plugged in, I would do the brushies with like ASMR, but unfortunately I don't. What is that? Hello, Dead Rose Joker. I haven't seen your name before. Welcome. And also we have Bad Girl 6661. Hydrate. Oh yes. Actually, you're the one that requested that a minute ago. Thank you. I'll do that. Is there brushies in the art place? It wouldn't be let's go to a place with brushies, then we'll go to the art place. How about that? I'm gonna drink some water just to warn you. Delicious. Delicious water. I had to get some more water before I started streaming too. I almost didn't have any. You guys are truly wholesome. Yeah, I'm not gonna do ASMR on the Twitch stream. Usually if I do ASMR in the future, because I know some people have voiced that it's not for everybody, that's perfectly fine. There's no problems. That's fine. I'm glad they spoke out about it too. If I ever do ASMR stuff like on stream or TikTok, it won't be on Twitch, I don't think, ever. But if on TikTok, it'll say in the title very clearly that's ASMR. I'm not sure when I'll do that again. I might want to try it again at the weekend, but again, if you see me mention it in like a tweet or something, I'll do it definitely. I love the ASMR. It was super fun. I thought you were gonna say funny. I almost thought you typed funny, Werewolf Billy. I was like, I don't know if it's supposed to be funny. But I guess if it's fun and funny, then that makes people happy, so that's a really good thing. Let's go to a place with brushies. Oh, which place? Oh wait, there's a couple places that have the brushies. I'll go to. Let's go to the old place I used to go to. What was that called? It was like Rooftop, I believe. Rooftop. I want to tell you a story too. Is A Riddy here by chance? I was talking to A Riddy in DMs, asking them questions, trying to get knowledge from them. Whoa.
No_VT just resubscribed.
Midnight
for 12
Rooftop. I'll
months.
type that in.
Yeah, so happy I found you 12 months ago, Ziggbee. Thank you for all the comfort and entertainment. You're the best.
Jeez, you're very welcome.
Platonically.
Some of you found me so long ago. It's been like, time just flies by. There it is. Midnight. What is that second one? Oh, go back for a second. Midnight Penthouse. Is that the same people? I know it's different, but I was just curious because, like, did they make an additional one? It might be just someone trying to do a copy version. I shall go. Oh, I should hide this too. Whoop. No, don't look at me load. You're not supposed to. I'm like yelling. Where's the thing that covers it up? It is right. Is this it? No. Oh, there it is. There it is. I don't think Sib will join today. Oh yes, Alexine. Sib will not be joining today, unfortunately. Sib's schedule has been pretty crazy and like unusual, so he can't really stream today. Which he really, let me tell you. Well, let me get rid of the screen before I ramble on and on and on. Where's the camera? Camera, look at me. No, just kidding. I was just gonna say, he misses you all very much. He does miss you very much. I think what he's gonna do is, it might be easier for him to join a TikTok stream because it's late. It's much later in the evening usually that I do it. So he'll hopefully join me sometime. I don't know if I should. Maybe in the title I'll say like Sib's gonna be joining me possibly. So if I do a stream with Sib, you'll know it's clearly he's gonna be there. But yeah. He's been too busy. But yeah, he'll be in the TikTok. I keep repeating myself. Why am I repeating myself? Oh wait, where are the brushes at here? I think I have to go up the elevator. Camera, come here, come here. Let's go in the elevator. Let's push all the buttons. Top floor. Ding! Yeah, this is where it is, I think. And it used to be next to, oh wait, maybe they moved all the stuff. Oh, there's a brushie, I found the brushie. We're taking it into the place though, because it's too dark out here. Behold, I got the brushies. I'm gonna run over here. Through the rain. I love the rain, actually. I really love the rain. Well, there we go, okay. Sorry, I'm kind of running all over the place. And we shall put the camera right here, I think would be pretty cool. Sorry, I had to do a little wiggle sometimes. I will do brushies for you, okay? I got a brushies for a couple of you, two of you. Morning Bee and Alex Seguin. What's going on in chat? Yes, it just came back to me. It might have been a delay on my end. Sib has lots of shrimps to move in the stock market. Yes. Wait, what is this? Is it time for brush? Yes, we're with Billy. Tatum Pancake disqualified. What are you disqualified in Tatum Pancakes? I am missing complete context. You know, if I watch this stream later, I'll be able to tell what you're all talking about better. It was for small. Oh, okay, no worries. What is this? Brushies, brushies, Dazzle Stars. No, I'll give you Dazzle Stars in just a moment. I should fulfill the requests for brushies first to be. Oh my gosh, where am I going? What are you wowing me?
Our Smokey just gifted 1 sub.
Thank you. Oh, did I miss Noah? Noah, thank you for the resubscribing as well. I look kind of strange. You're probably used to seeing me with the hat, but now you can see all my fur. And yes, it's fur everywhere. I'm not losing hair on the top. If it's white, it's fur. It's all over me. It's all over me. Thank you, Noah, for the resubscription to be subscribed for 12 long months. I remember your message was read earlier. Monkey, thank you for giving out a community gifted sub. Monkey, you have to tell me what's up with your name, though. I mean, I get it, but I'm afraid to just blurt it out. Monkey, thank you for giving out a gifted sub, and thank you for. I saw you on TikTok, and I saw when you joined here on Twitch as well, which is really cool. I'm gonna do brushies. Who's first? Morning Bee. Morning Bee, I will do a brushies for you. Actually, I'm gonna turn off the. It won't be ASMR. Hopefully, I don't think it will be ASMR. I'm gonna pause the music though. Where is it at? It's right. That's not it. Ziggbee. Oh, there it is. I found it. Okay. I'm gonna brushy it, right? Brushy. Brushy, brushy. Gotta do the back right there. Brushy, brushy. Oh! Brushy, brushy, brushy. Is that pretty good? I can't get it to stay down though, it just sticks up. But if you comb it, at least it's nice. You know? It goes, at least it goes back a little bit. And I do my paws too. Brushy, brushy. Brushy, brushy, brushy. Oh, that looks pretty good when you do the fur. Brushy, brushy, brushy. There you go. And also I had to do brushies for Alex Seguin. Wait, who was the one previously? I think it was Morning Bee. Morning Bee, yeah. And I'll do brushies for Alex too. Alex, you want brushies? Okay, I'll brush in my leg. How about that? Look at my leg. Brushy. That's not a brushy, Ziggbee. Brushy, 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 brushy. I'll do the other one too. Brushy, brushy, brushy. This is like right there. It makes my fur all like more shiny when I brush. When I brush it, brush. There we go. I did it. I brushied for you. You're welcome. I'll put the brushy over here. I put my hat back on and stuff. Now we'll go to the art place and play some Pictionary for a little bit. If that sounds cool with all of you. Where's my hat? There we go. I put it back on. Yeet. Yeet. It's fun to throw things here. I miss throwing things because usually in most worlds they don't have the ability to throw things. I don't recommend you do it in real life though. That's dangerous. Yeet. I'll do it to Rosa too. Rosa? Yeet! Wait, where'd it go? Oh my gosh, okay, yeah. Rosa's just rolling on the camera. Oh, that's fine, Rosa. You can just stand in front of the camera, that's fine. Okay, let's go to the art world. I like the new art world too. I've been using it a couple times, as some of you have noticed. So with the canvases, you can choose any color you want, which is a lot of fun. It's called Life Drawing. Join. Where is it? There we go. Be right back. Woo. Why would I throw you, Small? I'm not gonna throw you. I mean, the other cats that's there too. Rosa, no. Don't worry, it's not really Rosa.
Smokey Cheerdex 100.
Woo.
I love you. Also, my name is pronounced A Smokey. LOL. I love you. You are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Wait. Oh, I get it now. Get it now. Oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed a little bit. I'm embarrassed today. That's okay. Let me explain. That's not the first time that happened now. I see a name and I instantly, if anything, it says something about me, honestly. If I see a name and I instantly see the spicy part, what does that say about me? I don't know. As Smokey. Name is pronounced A Smokey. I still did it wrong. A Smokey. LOL, I love you. You are amazing. Thank you, A Smokey. Thank you for clarifying that too. Thank you for clarifying. If yes, thank you. Good night, morning bee. What's going on here? I didn't get it either. Let's see here. Dazzle stars from Noah. I'll give you dazzle stars. I will sprinkle them all over. I'll get close because it'll make them bigger too. Watch. Are they big now? They're huge, I hope. I'll give you some dazzle stars. And Sib's not here to stop me. Don't tell him I give you so many, okay? He may not like that because I don't think he likes magic very much. How did you make them so big? It's perspective. It's kind of like what Disney uses in like their parks. There you go, make it really big, okay? Because if it gets super close, oh my gosh! I'm shaking the camera. I'm gonna get a canvas and we'll play a little bit of Pictionary, okay? Woo! Dun, dun, dun. Oh, sorry, I'm just spinning around for fun. I also like to put, make it have like trees out here. I wish there was more like scenes. Like this is great for like, it looks like an art studio, but I kind of wish it was like the garden therapy place, because then it'd be more beautiful just to hang out there and draw. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sorry, I'm going to get a canvas and a pencil. I need to jump and get it. There we go, I got it. Dun, 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 dun. Hello. Oh, that's right. I'm on Twitch right now. I have a big perspective. A big, what do you call it? This is like the panoramic. versus portrait view, which is pretty sweet. I'll put this right, okay, a little closer, right there perhaps. And I'll get behind here and line up the camera and then lock it. Boop. There we go, that's good.
R Smokey cheered X100. It's okay lol. The AA is just because the other name was taken, so I had to add the AA in the beginning. The name Smokey is from the 90s movie Friday. The character is Smokey, played by Chris Tucker. Anyways, I love you. I want to subscribe to you on here, but it's for some reason saying that there is an error, but it's okay, I'll sub soon.
Oh no, oh my goodness, you explained everything and a lot of different things. I don't think I've seen that before. 90s movie? Unless I did, I don't know. Sometimes I forget things. Hey Smokey, thank you for that. And I'll thank you for the 200 total bits from the 2 messages. Thank you. And yeah, that yes, I'll hopefully remember from now on. Smokey the Bear. Wait, Smokey the Bear, 90s movie, Friday. The character is Smokey, played by Chris Tucker. I don't know if I know that one, Smokey. Wait, is that like Smokey the Bear for reals? Like Smokey the Bear movie? I'm confused. Yes, you did, Small. Stop it. Small. Don't make me paint a mustache on you. There you go. I'm gonna change the color or something. I like purple. I want to do purple. And maybe make it thinner. Boop. Make it a little thinner brush. Let's say the picture is working. I did add some words, so hopefully it works. The first one might be kind of hard to figure out, but we'll give it a try and see if I can pull it off, maybe. Or with Billy, why did I think Smokey the Bear was a big furry who says, say no to forest fires, or something like that? Yeah, that is correct. That's Smokey the Bear. But you thought it was like a movie about Smokey the Bear? Smokey the Bear says this, okay? Only you can prevent forest fires. Something like that. He speaks really deep, I think, too. Let me see what I got for the words. First word. I don't know if I want to do this word though. This word's kind of hard. No, I'll do the next word. I don't trust it. I'll do this one first. Does it work up? Okay, good. Let's see if I can do this. Hopefully it works and everything. How would this go? There isn't really a theme, unfortunately. It's kind of a mishmash of stuff. Does that make sense? Don't depend on the color either. It may not be representative, represent what I'm actually drawing. The answer should be, I look down at the screen. Strawberry. It should be strawberry. Show the rounds for strawberry. Wait, I need to make this bigger. I won't be able to read. Oh, maybe I do this. Oh, there, that makes it better. Okay. First place for strawberry is Noah. Second place, actually, there's 3 first place people. There's Noah, Cardboard, Moose, and Small. Good job. Second place is Rose, Winsome, and third is Tatum Pancake. Got some very strong contenders immediately. I'm very impressed. Good job, everybody. We'll do a couple more, okay? Reset. I might change the color every time because it's really fun to have like access to all the colors. Let's do a blue. No?
R Smokey cheered X100.
Let me see how this looks.
That's true. Smokey the Bear says that lol. But I ran by the name Smokey for a few years because unfortunately I got hooked on smoking. But I'm proud to say that I'm clean of 5 years now. Now I'm here watching the best Twitch streamer I've ever seen.
Congratulations too for quitting too. That's incredible. 5 years, that's a long time. Very good. That's very incredible. I'm glad to hear you stop that because yeah, long-term wise, it does not do good for you. But yeah, I see. Very interesting too. Let me peek in Discord, not Discord, the main chat too. It's making what? What is small? Small, what are you talking about? I said strawberry first. Do over, we forgot you were playing. Doge da cha la la, that's how this works. If Sib was here, Sib would try to do a secret one and not even warn you and be like, hey, it was a surprise one. I usually just try to semi-tell you. Thank you everyone for saying congratulations and supporting Smokey that they stopped smoking for 5 years. Good job. And thank you for doing that. It's very sweet and supportive community-wise. Okay, okay, everyone prepare. We're doing another one, okay? We're doing another one, all right? Okay. Show me the next one. This one's okay. Can I? Oh, this one's hard to spell though. Is it okay? I guess it's okay. That's giving you a tip though. Like I would not know how to spell that immediately, but we'll give this a try. Start the round. I don't know what to say. I can just push a button. Oops, it's kind of big. I see the thing already go through. How is that possible? I didn't even finish yet. I'm not even done yet. People are so good at guessing, probably because of the way I said it. I probably gave too much information. It should be like candles, maybe old school.
101. This is amazing. I love being here. I can't wait to subscribe.
I'm glad you love being here. It's a pretty awesome community. I tried to do a fancy one, but it wasn't working very good. It's chandelier. Usually sometimes they have like crystals, like quartz. Is it quartz? I don't know what kind of crystals they use, but yeah, sometimes it's like crystals and it's like rainbowy and beautiful. Can I tell you something strange about chandeliers too? I didn't know this until like we saw a person's house and they explained it to Sib and myself. Like chandeliers have a special, sometimes like a special motor thing you turn on and it lowers it very slowly. So it moves it to the ground so you can clean it basically. And then you push the motor the other way and the chandelier goes back up. And apparently those motors are very expensive too. I thought that was very fascinating. I didn't know that. Another round scores for chandelier. Oh, thank you so much for that. Who's that?
228 just resubscribed for 12 months. It's my 1-year anniversary. I'm so happy I found you.
Ooh.
Growing heart.
Ooh, and thank you again for hey Smokey for the multiple bits that you sent and messages. Thank you for that. Black Dragon, thank you for the resubscription for 1 month at tier 1 and being subscribed for 12 months, 1-year anniversary. Thank you. And happy 1-year Ziggbee anniversary. For chandelier, we have first place. We have one person, Tatum Crab Cakes. Second place, we have Lavender Luna, and third place, we have Cardboard Moose. Very impressive. I see Tatum Crab Cake is making a strong comeback. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I think I'll probably do quite a few of these. Let's do a couple to make it more fair and stuff, so people have a chance. I don't know if that helps. Longer. I probably well, if I do few words and some people are lucky the first couple guesses, then that might, I don't know. Well, let's keep going. We'll keep going. What's the next word? Let me see what the next prompt is. I almost said it. I almost said what the prompt was. I was Was this so salty? I accidentally typed chandelier instead of what did you miss? Oh, you missed an A in there. Yeah, that one's hard. That's okay. That happens to me on video games. Like whenever there's a situation in a video game where I have to do something that's very time sensitive and you have to push certain buttons, right? I just end up like pushing all the wrong buttons because it gives anxiety or something. What does Small say? Dyslexic Void says the word is unfair. That is true. It is pretty difficult. I should have probably not have put that word in the list. That was my doing, by the way. Does your PC or phone have spell check like the red underlines? Oh, that's true. Sometimes they do. No, Small? Are you watching a computer by chance? Yes, I was so anxious. I made a typo. I understand, Paige. I do that too. It's hard to get past that and be like focused without no anxiety. I don't know how you can do that. It sounds impossible to me. Werewolf Billy, I did like the drawing of it though. I want it in my living room. Oh, that'd be fancy. That's too fancy. You have to have a big living room, I think. I guess you can have like a little chandelier. I don't know. That's too fancy. I have French spell check. Alex, does that help? Wait, does it just do French or does it have English? You could probably do both, right? Croissant, the next word. No, Sandman. Croissant is not the next one. Oh, croissants are delicious though. Start the word. Oh, I want to change the color first. I'll change the color. And again, the color doesn't represent what I'm drawing. I'm just changing colors for fun. Let's do an orange. Ooh, like me. Kind of like me a little bit. Start the round. Here we're starting the round for real now, okay? Let's see. Why is it not? Oh, okay. Why is it not drawing sometimes? Maybe I made it too thin. Oh wait, did someone already got it so fast? This brush is really fun though. Maybe I'll change the thickness. There we go. That makes sense what it was. I was trying to do it fancy, but sometimes the brush kind of does weird stuff. I'm just blaming the brush for my inability to draw. Let me reset that. The answer was toothpaste. How do we do for that word? Show me the round scores. The round scores. No, sorry. Shane, good job, Shane. First place for toothpaste. Good job. Second place is Benadryl. That sounds like Benadryl. That's a medicine. Benadryl. And then third place is Noah. Honorable mentions: Sandman, Werewolf Billy, Lavender Luna. Good job. Not a lot of you got that. Probably because of my drawing. How many is it? That's 3 so far. Let's at least do 2 to 3 more, okay? To determine who the weekly champion of Pictionary is on the Discord. Ziggbee, I want to put me on the board. It won't put you on the board. Acting shit, I'm sorry. Are you using a phone? Make sure you go into the what is it, like the gear icon, and do low latency, because on phones it's very difficult to get on the board sometimes. I've never been up there. Luna Bean, you can get. It's hard though. I don't think I could either, actually. Ziggbee, I'm okay with it. Okay, good. Oh, sorry. I'll get distracted again. Okay. Next word would be. We're gonna sneeze. Okay. Go sneeze, Ziggbee. We're gonna sneeze. I think I have too much dust in my place where I stream. Start the round. You ready? Let's see what we can do. Oh, I didn't? Oh. I messed up! No! No! Well, what could this possibly be? Never mind, we'll do the next one. I pushed the wrong button. It went to the... Okay, listen. I was just drawing for... Oh my gosh, don't make excuses, Ziggbee. Listen, I was just drawing for fun. It was just it wasn't part of the game. It was part of the game, but I messed up. Listen, never mind. Let's continue. This didn't happen. This didn't happen, everybody. Shh, 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 shh. Well, there you go. That's your big dose of scuff. I was told to improvise. Look at me wiggle. Did it work? Okay, we'll do this one. This one's 2 words, but I think I put it in there with 1 word just in case people want to do spacing or no spacing. Hopefully they're both in there. Okay, I'm gonna push start for real this time. Let's see. Okay, it came up for real that time. I'm gonna pick my color too really quick. I'll pick this color. I want a smaller brush though. I like a small brush.
Smokey cheered X100. I need to buy more bits lol. I'm leaving for a little bit, but if I don't come back on here tonight, I just want to say even though my time here was short, I love being here and you are amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope you have a good rest of the evening. Thank you for dropping by. I really appreciate that. I would say more, but I'm trying to draw. Is that probably... Oh, everyone got it already. Jeez, okay. I was trying to draw fancy. You get it so fast. It was a bunk bed. It was bunk bed. Let me look at the message too that was sent by Smokey. Let's see here. I need to buy more bits. You don't have to buy more bits. Oh my gosh, you don't have to buy more bits. I'm leaving for a little bit, but I don't come back on here tonight. I just want to say time here is... I love being here. Oh, thank you, Smoke. I'm glad you enjoy being here in this stream and stuff. The people here are really nice too, by the way. Reset. There we go. Let's see the score for that. The score for that. Where is it at? Show round scores. Werewolf Billy! First place on that one. Good job, Werewolf Billy. I'm a little suspicious now, Werewolf Billy. Did you have a bunk bed? I think Werewolf Billy had a bunk bed. I was just making a guess though. Cardboard Moose 2nd place, and 3rd place is Taylor. Good job. Good job. Woo! Woo! I'll hide the score. I want to know though, for real. Werewolf Billy said, "Oh no, LOL, maybe, yes, possible." I think you did possibly. I can usually tell there's little things that people say and do where it makes you go like, that gives me more information than they realize. Like when people say, "Ziggbee, nice jumper," I instantly know, oh, you're from the UK probably. You're a Brit. That's nice to meet you. Let me see what the next word is. Next word. Next. Okay, well that would be... I can do this one. This would be a fun one to draw too. I'll change the color. What color have I not done yet? I haven't done... I haven't done pink yet. Let's do a pink one. Actually, we wouldn't be able to see it very good. We'll do a dark pink. That'd be more seeable. Okay, I'll put that there. Start the round. Whoa. Ready? Gosh, my pen is like getting all messed up. Wait, do I have the right word and stuff? Hopefully doing the wrong. Let me see what people are typing in there. Why is it? Oh, there we go. Some of you finally got it. I think it does look like what you're saying, though. but it's not that. What is in the center here? Like, isn't there like a... Stick figure. It's a birthday cake. No, it was supposed to be board game. I think I put the space one in there too, possibly, or probably just only the board game. I'm gonna check chat to see if everyone's mad. Let's see. Board game. Did a space count? I'm not sure actually, Sam, man. It's not space game. Monopoly. I know, I was drawing Monopoly. I thought that would be a problem too, because how do you draw multiple board? I would have to draw 2 board games, but by that time, I don't know. I should maybe draw like simpler games. What's simple? I don't know. Maybe simpler board games. What? Scrabble? Don't get mad, Tatum. What happened? How did you do? Did you get on the board? Let's see. Show round scores. Oh no, they didn't get on the board. Rose Winsome. Good job, your first place. Second place is Cha-Cha-Lala, and third place is Small. Oh, Shane's on there too. Alex. I'm calling Axie. I keep calling you Alex. I'm sorry. Axie and Shade's on there, and Noah. I see an AX, and I think my first thought is Alex or something. I have to look farther than just the AX of the word. Woo woo woo. Woo woo. I think I want to do 2 more, but before we do 2 more though, how's everyone doing? Is everyone doing okay? You enjoyed playing the Pictionary? I don't know if this is as entertaining as TikTok. I don't know the difference. Like, is it fun to play Pictionary? Like, I only play Pictionary on Twitch. I used to be able to do it on TikTok, but it became more difficult to pull off. No more space gates. I can't look at it actually. I'd have to pull up like a whole database and stuff. And that would be complicated. Woo! I have another day off, so I'm great. That's wonderful, Cha-Cha-La-La. Hope you have fun, treat yourself. I think tomorrow or the weekend, I should get something super sweet, even though I've been terrible this week. This week I've been terrible with what I've been eating. I've been eating like burgers, fries, shakes, soda. They're delicious, but I don't think that's good. I'll do 2 more words, okay? And then afterwards, I'll do a little bit of dancies, and I think that's it. We'll go back to the cool garden therapy garden place when I do the dancies. We'll do 2 more words, okay? We're almost done. Hydrate. Thank you, Luna Bean. I do need some water, actually. Thank you. I will do that. I know it's strange to see me on top of the... Oh, what the... Ignore the fact I go through the board like a ghost, but I'm keeping on top of the redemptions today. You see that? Ah, delicious. There we go. Ooh, I'm back. Ziggbee phases through the yeah, don't read too much into it though. Okay, I thought it was me. Well, woo. What? Where will Billy go? I just make it up when I dance. Everyone knows that, right? I just think, what combination of movements look good? And usually it's in patterns. Like this one I saw on YouTube. I don't know what it's called, like the leaf? Woo! I only know like 2 moves I saw from YouTube. That's about it. The rest is how I make it all up. You heard Spacegate? No, Grumpy. There's nothing about Spacegate, okay? Everything's fine. There's no controversies. I can't say that. Posture check? I do need to do posture check. I do slouch. That was my posture. Is it... Listen, I got curves. This is normal good this is good ferret posture, okay? Thank you, Shane, for checking my posture. Dance way better than me. Oh, thank you, Black Dragon. Black Dragon, I think you could dance. If I can dance, anybody can dance. Whoa. Whoa. So I get distracted again. Focus, Ziggbee. The next, let's see what the next word is. Next prompt, we'll do 2 more. I gotta choose my color. Okay, I want. That one's a bit bright. I'll go with the dark blue. Go with dark blue. Start the round. Let's see what we can do. Let's see. I'm having doubts. I got it already. I wasn't sure how to draw. I don't think they actually look like this, though. This is like a cartoon one. At first I was thinking, should I draw like just a box? Because that's how beekeepers keep the bees usually. Or I could have drawn like the classic cartoon one in the tree. Like there's a hole there. Like it's a bird house. And it's connected. Thank you. I appreciate your honesty. Thank you for that. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna draw a bee. I'll show you a beehive. Okay. They look like this, I think. No. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. And it usually has like multiple slices in there. Oh, I did the little wrong. It has like multiple things they could pull out. And then there's like usually an entrance or something, I think. Like, would you know that's a hive? No, this looks like a box. But I think it's like a box like this, and then the beekeeper like has these things that can slide out where the bees make their little what is it called? Is it octagon? No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's the what is it called? The Roman? No, is it? Oh my god, what is it? Never mind. No. Okay. Okay, we'll move on. Let's move on. Nothing's going on here. Show the round scores for that. We have one more after this. We got, well, despite some of you putting poo on a box, some of you did really good. Sandman, first place, good job. Black Dragon, second place, and third place, Cardboard Moose. Good job, and a lot of other people as well, which is really good. Let's see how close the numbers are. I see, so 15, 14, 13, 12, and then how much difference is that? 3? It looks like around Susie Q. Susie Q probably started, that's where people started to see the correct answer, like, I'm gonna type it really fast. I'm just, maybe, I don't know for sure, I'm just guessing. Hide that. Last one. No, you don't be sorry. You don't be sorry if you're unique, if you're unusual. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Never be sorry for that. Box of bee bats. That would be pretty cool if bats made honey as well. That would be pretty awesome. The normal bats eat lots of bugs, which is helpful. Good job, you guys who guessed the home of the bees. A honey bat? Is there such a thing? It almost sounds like a real thing. Oh yeah, that's a honey bat. Maybe thinking honey badger? Wait, what is honey? Oh, this hopefully it's not a bad thing. What's a honey badger? I know a badger is a thing. I'm gonna look in chat for just a moment though. That's not a bad thing, is it? Maybe, I don't know. I would Google search it, but I... Woo. Okay. Go to next prompt and the last prompt. Do I want to do that one? I'll do this one because it's easy. Well, I think it's easy, so I'll do this one. Okay. Where'd my pencil go? Or my magic brush? I should call it a magic brush. Woo! Stop the round. You ready? Well, we're going, so. What is it again I'm drawing? Oh. How do you draw? I know. I don't think I like that part though. You already got it though. How do I draw? How do I draw this like 3D? Is there a trick to this? Like, I'm not sure. What does a bubble usually have? Like, maybe it's just like a rainbowy color. Like, does it have like a reflection or something? I'll have to look at pictures. I don't know. Well, it doesn't have, it doesn't have a blemish. But yeah, I was trying to draw a bubble. I was trying to think how you can draw like the rest of it, but that's a kind of complicated art, I think. Let's see how many got that right. Hopefully a lot of you, because I don't know how to draw bubble details. The bubble is very angry. I thought that would be a good reflection. I don't... You are correct. That is the anime angry sign. How about this? There you go. And I shall also put the I drew it wrong though. It's supposed to be 4, I think. There you go. It's mad and concerned. Oh, Bubble Ron. What? Nervous bubble. Wait, let me see what this comment was about. Anxiety bubble. The bubble is stressed. Oh no. Angry spider bubble. You know, bubbles are really fun. Usually it's like a wand, right? Sometimes they have a circle in the bottom. It goes up, and sometimes there's 1 or 2 places to blow bubbles. And do you blow bubbles? I'm trying to get really light, but it's kind of hard. So it might be a little thick. There we go. And do more bubbles.
One Grump Helican just resubscribed for 8 months.
Like this. There. That's probably better, huh? But you might have complained because that would be plural of bubbles. Okay, let's see here. Show me the score for bubble. Singular. Lean Goddess, first place. Good job, Lean Goddess. Second place is Black Dragon, and third place is Lavender Luna. Not far behind is also Werewolf Billy, 1 point off. We also have Cardboard Moose on there, Suzuki, and Axie and Shades. Good job, you got the bubbles. Bubbles are so fun. I like bubbles. They're just fun to blow and stuff because they float. It's like, ooh. I remember, I'm just yelling random things now. I remember seeing some cool bubble. Oh, let me draw another bubble wand. Has anyone ever seen a bubble wand like this? Watch. Let's see here. It looked like this, I think. Something like this, maybe. No. Getting out of control. I hear people talking in like a Discord channel. You're getting out of control. Oh my gosh. And then it's like circular and it has like a whole bunch of dots. And it makes a whole bunch of little, I'll just do like this. No. I guess this is not correct. See, have anyone seen this bubble player? No. That's it, I'm closing that. It's distracting me. See this bubble thing? It like blew like a whole bunch. Wait, it's still going. How is it still going? I closed it. It's still going. I closed both the Discords. It's okay. Oh my. I know. I don't know how it's still. Oh, I know how. I can't apparently. It's fine though. It would be right. There he goes. I did it. But yeah, I remember a bubble one like that was really cool because it made like a ton of little bubbles. So, woo. Actually, it didn't. I can still hear you. Let's see here. You want to see the total score for the round? I don't know who's gonna win though, unfortunately, because I wasn't keeping track though. Let's see who won the Pictionary for the weekly Pictionary. And it would be, drum roll. Okay, you have to imagine the drum roll. Drum roll, all right, here you go. Whoa! What? I did not expect that. Cardboard Moose, not because you can't, but I don't recall you seeing it. You must have been like, oh, never mind. I'm not insulting. I'm just impressed. Cardboard Moose, first place. You have 57 points, which means to me, I think you got a lot of words correct. I thought you got a couple first place ones too. Cardboard Moose, is this your first time winning or is this your second time winning? I mean, I guess I could really research it if I really want to find out, but do you remember Cardboard Moose? Is this your first time being champion of the week for Pictionary? What'd you say? I'm not sure. Second time, I think. Yeah, I think it's your second time. Good job, Cardboard Moose. That's very impressive. Honorable mentions, I'll read all the names though, just for fun, okay? We have a second place, Sandman, then we have Small, we have Tatum Pancake, we have Shane, we have Lavender Luna, we have Rose Winsome, we have Werewolf Billy, we have Noah, Black Dragon, Nate Cha-Cha-La-La, Petrie Rat, Bunny Drill, Lean Goddess, Taylor, Susie Q, Pumpkin Spice 488, Axie and Shade, Paige Mustang, and Roman 4. Roman 4, if I said that correctly. I have a feeling I always struggle in your name because the fonts look strange. Well, I know one of your usernames out, like even Sib and I have a hard time reading it sometimes because it's like the font's like, what font is, what letter is that? But good job, everybody. A lot of you got on the board, which is amazing. I don't think I could even do that, but so good job. Thank you for limiting the space with Space Gates. Space Gate. Some people may not know what the Space Gate is. Basically, it's just controversy because sometimes the words have spaces and sometimes they don't have spaces. Boing, 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 boing. Let's go back to the therapy place. Therapy garden. It's just therapy place. Let's go to therapy. Then we're going to therapy garden. That's what it's called. Okay, I'll just go teleport there really quick. Boop. It is right there. There we go. I might hide that though. Where is it? Where is it? I can't find it. Oh, it's at the top there probably. Hold please. There we go. I pushed to be right back, but it's already done. It's almost loading there. There we go. We're here. I'm gonna set the camera up first. Boing, We could do another perspective of this place. Let me see what the perspective of over here is. That's kind of pretty. Okay, well, I'm gonna put the camera to a new place. There we go. Boop. There we go. Now we got a new perspective. This is across the bridge area. I don't think some of you might have seen this before. Whoa, isn't this pretty? It's so pretty. Ooh, 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 ooh. Boing, boing. Oh, can I get in the basket? Can I get in the basket? I can't hide my... Okay, I did it. I'm not here anymore. I can see my hat though. Okay, we'll play some I'll do some dances, okay? We're trying to find... Oh, what song should I don't have one. Let me think here. Oh, Cardboard Moose's Discord. Someone's asking in the Discord thing. It should be Cardboard Moose. Cardboard Moose is usually always on too. At least it seems always online. Unlike me, I'm always hidden, being secret and sneaky and stealthy and lurking. I might have to open another program to play some music. This is kind of forbidden though because copyright.
Captain
I guess I shouldn't say it though.
X100, you
I'm
make me smile.
acknowledging
Thank you for your time.
Guilt of something wrong. We shall do a dance. Let's pick one. How does this one? Oh, I gotta stop the other music too, because it might be weird with them both playing. Well, this is way too slow to dance to. Yep. There we go. I'm gonna get some water. Woo! Woo! Let's do a little exercise today, jeez. How was that? Was that okay? That song slaps? Yeah, it does. It's a very good song. I wonder if I put it on my playlist or not. I'll get some water, I'll be right back. There we go, it's better. Actually, I put it on my playlist right now. Yeah, I favored it. That song's called Bones, by the way. It's by Imagine Dragons. I'm sure Twitch is gonna freak out that I played it though. So will YouTube. But it's worth it! That was great. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad you like the dances and stuff. Everybody? Woo! Oh, thank you. Thank you, Captain Lucille, for the 100 bits, and thank you for your time. Make me smile. Of course, of course. I'm glad I can make you smile. That's always the funnest part. If I can make just one person smile, it makes it worth it. It means my magic is still working, thankfully. Everybody, it's gonna be it for today, though. Gonna head out and hopefully see you again soon sometime, okay? Let me see how long I've been streaming for, because I don't want to be too short. That's pretty good. I usually do about an hour or a little bit longer than that. Woo! Before I go, though, I will show you beans. You can boop my nose and I'll boop your nose if you want. And you can have hugs too. First I'll give you beans, alright? Here you go. You can look at my beans. Here you go. When I wiggle them really fast, they're like butterflies. Look at what? My head wiggles too. We won't do like that. So, oh, sorry, I'm goofing off. Oh, here's my beans, okay? And you're making me boops if you want. Just a couple. Just a couple. Am I getting too close? Boop, boop. Here, I'll give you some boops to you if you want. Boop, 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 boop. And I'll give you a hug too. Anybody who wants a hug, I'll give you a hug. Only if you want. If you don't, that's fine too, because some people don't like hugs, okay? Those of you that do want hugs, come here. I'm sure. Just imagine Sib hugging you too, because he wishes he could be here too and hug you. There you go. There you go. You get big hugs, alright? Oh, woo! Okay. You want to do a howl? Oh, you want to do a howl? We can do grunty kicks too. Here, I'll do a grunty kick first. I gotta get a little farther back for this. That was like a karate grunty kick. There's grunty kicks. Let's where Billy definitely wants a hell. I do too. Sorry, I'm yelling. Let's try it, okay? Ready? Okay. Let's start with an woo first. Woo 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 woo. Okay. Oh. There, I did like a howl there. See that? Actually, it's really fun to do that too. It's almost like music, kind of. I think that's everything, right? Boing, 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 boing. Okay. I'll give you one more quick hug too if you want. Oh, you go. You're also wonderful and nice. I really appreciate this community. You're all so wonderful and kind to each other and positive. And I think you all help each other some too, which makes me very happy. Makes me very, very happy. Okay, everybody, I'll head out. If I don't see you like Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, I'll see you next week, probably Monday. But I might do bonus streams. We'll see during the weekend. I don't know if I will or not, but maybe. Keep an eye out in Discord, on Twitter. And yeah, see you hopefully soon. Love all of you very much. Platonically, of course. I'm married. Platonically. And yeah, see you again soon. I'm at Zoomies. Where should I have Zoomies at? Just Zoomies over here. Boop, 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 boop. All right, goodbye, everybody. I'm gonna zoom you out that way. Take care and have a good weekend if you're off, okay? Get something delicious to eat, okay? And relax. Do something you enjoy. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.